Hello and welcome to the Wise Why. This morning I am joined by Yvonne Pritchard, and this is a really interesting one for me because Yvonne was at Samsung before I was, and I went to an event, and Simon Shorley, who we're giving you a big shout out, who was my boss, I was also Yvonne's boss, but at that time he'd moved on, and when I'd set up the business, he was jumping all over the place. So anyone who knows Simon knows he's a great guy. He was jumping all over the place, going and almost clapping, going, oh my goodness, you've got to meet Yvonne. So I reached out, and this is the end result. But as we all know, the Wise Why is definitely not about me. It is about the guest. So Yvonne, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Kirsty. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Yvonne Pritchard. As Kirsty said, I used to work in the CCTV industry. I think I was 25 years. It's a long time. Yeah, I fell into it. It wasn't planned, like most people. And about 3 years ago, I decided that I'd had enough of corporate world, and I basically quit my job and started my own business. So I am an empowerment coach. And what that means is I basically help people get out of ruts, find their purpose, help them start to live their purpose, and therefore they will be much happier, successful people. So I just love helping people. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love that. And it's really interesting because before I left Hanwha, and I think most people know this, I sat on what some people would call it the crossroads. Some people would call it the surfboard. I just sat waiting, not knowing which way to go. And at that point, I probably wouldn't have reached out to an empowerment coach. And yet it's exactly what I needed to help me shape rather than sit static, trying to work out what my next move was, because I'd become a mum and my life had changed. So can you quickly sum up why somebody who was in my position at that point, who'd returned to work and was sitting there on that surfboard, should pick up the phone to you? Because it probably would have saved me about 2 or 3 years of pain.
Yeah, well, I think you just answered the question yourself, Kirsty. It will save people 2 or 3 years of pain. The problem is that when we are in this mode where we just don't know what to do, we can't see the wood for the trees, we start to panic, or we just sit and go, something will happen, which is why you're then there for 2 years waiting for it to happen. If you speak to somebody like me, actually, I can help you because the answers are inside us. We just need people to help us see that. And that's what I do is, I listen to people, I write stuff down, I throw it back at them, and they go, oh, yeah, that's really obvious, isn't it? It's like, it is, but you can't see it because you are bogged down in the today, the here and the now, and I need to go and do this, that, the other, the juggling. And also, Kirsty, we all know this, that our brain gives us so many excuses not to do something that we just sit and we wait. And that's the point. And I will call those excuses out and go, do you know what? No. But also we're scared because when you come to that crossroads, you've got 2 options. You stay where you are, which is the safe option because you know it. Or you take a massive leap of faith and you go the other direction. That's huge. And our brain's job is to keep us safe. So when we're running around with saber-toothed tigers and all of that, it would keep us safe. It could be fight or flight. We don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore. So actually what the brain does is when it thinks that you are going out of your comfort zone, it will start telling you all of these things and basically feeding you rubbish to stop you doing something because it's trying to protect you. That's why you need to speak to an empowerment coach, because we know all of this and we can help you.
It's so important because people think, and it's this word coaching has been bounded around, and I personally don't like it. What do I do? Well, I will help you to be camera confident by doing exactly what you've just done, but focusing on, now I'm not even going to try and say what the fear is. It does have a proper name, and yeah, I'm not going to try and say it this morning, but I focus on that, and I'm looking at how to open that up. But it's not just what I do. There's a lot more to it, and yet you get bound with this word coach or coaching. Do you like that word?
No, I don't. And also, the word life coach, which is actually what, it is what I do. I help people with their life. I don't like it. The word coach, because there are so many different types of coaches, it can mean anything. You know, it can mean anything from a sports coach all the way through to sort of, you know, you and I are very different. What we do is different, but we're coaches. Well, we do. We help people. That's what I say. You know, I have to. Do I have to? I use the word coach because people sort of understand it. But fundamentally, what do? I help people be happy. That's it.
I love that. I really do. So you were in the corporate world, and that's quite a big leap, corporate world coaching. Now, I know my journey. Can you explain your journey a little bit more, so that I know that there's some people on here that have been through or are going through this transition. So it's good for them to understand how you got from A to B to C to where you are now.
Yes. So it's quite a long journey. If reflecting, a bit like you, Kirsty, I think I sat there for about 3 years. Okay. So I think for me, you know, I'd followed the path that most people follow. I went to school, I went to university, got a job, had my daughter first, then got married, and I was on this path. Yeah. Off we go on this path. I even quit and went traveling and came back and joined Samsung. It's like, that was my opportunity to do something different, but I didn't. And it was actually when I was with Sony. So it was in a job that I absolutely loved. But things were starting to unravel. I've got 2 daughters and a husband who also at the time worked in the CCTV industry. So we were like ships in the night. The girls, they were, I don't know, I think they were 8 and 5 or something. And it came to a head. There were lots of things going on, nothing massive, lots of things. And I remember one of the big red flags for me was I was driving down, can't remember what the road is, I think it's the A34 where you go past Stonehenge, and it goes from single to double carriageway. I ended up driving down the road on the wrong side, thinking it was a double carriageway when it was a single, and there's a car coming towards me. Luckily, there was room for me to go into the right lane. So that was one of the first flags. I was constantly tired. I had headaches. I felt as if the weight of the world was on my shoulders. But I didn't get it. And then one night, I don't know what happened, but it all came to a head. And I literally stood by the kitchen door and I just screamed my head off. And Mark turned to me and he went, I think you need to go and see somebody. I was like, okay. So the following Monday, I found the doctor, explained what happened. He said, well, you're depressed. It's like, no, I can't be. Because yes, you are. And I'm like, no, because for me, depression happens when a major event happens. That hasn't happened to me. I now know differently. He's like, no, look back at your notes, and you've come to see me with headaches. You can't sleep. And okay. So they gave me antidepressants, which I was really disappointed with, because I thought that if you gave me an antidepressant, it was a bit like, not that I've ever taken Prozac, but how I assume you'd feel. Well, you're up here and you feel amazing all the time. It's not like that. It gives you a flat line. So it takes this out of your life, which is what was in my life. They offered me counselling at the time, and I just went no, because I was just too busy. So I took the tablets and I thought, right, I need to pull myself out of this. So I went to have some CBT, and it was all right, but it didn't work for me. It works for lots of people. It didn't work for me. So I carried on, and I carried on for another 3 years. And I wasn't on tablets or anything, but there was a hole. There was a hole inside me, and whatever I did, I couldn't fill it. So, you know, I'd go shopping and have my hair and have my nails, and I'd go on holidays, I would drink, I would eat. But there was just this hole, and I just didn't know what it was. But I was existing. That's the other thing. And this is where I started to question, is this it? Is this all that life's got to offer me? Because if it is, I'm not sure that I want this. Because it was like Groundhog Day. And I'm like, okay. Then I got made redundant from Sony, which really floored me, because I loved that job and I gave my heart, soul, everything. But, you know, they came out of CCTV. So it's like, okay, great. And they tell you it's not personal. Oh, yes, it is. It's very, very personal. And I think I was embarrassed because I think, as you know, Kirsty, the security industry is really small. It's really incestuous. And it's like, oh my God, I've just been made redundant. I'm not good enough. You know, what are people going to say? All of this. So I literally went into survival mode, and it was get a job. And I did. And I ended up coming out of the security industry and going into the AV industry, where I had a role heading up the European team. Got there in the September, and they dismantled the European team in the October. So I'm like, oh, I'm back here again. But I got a job. You know, they offered me a UK sales role, which was great because I was being paid a manager's role, and I wasn't managing anybody. And I actually found that I could do it with my eyes shut. So I stayed there for 2 years. Never been paid so much in my life. Never had so much freedom because I could just do it easy. But the problem with that is when you start to do things and you could do it with your eyes closed, you're not pushing yourself. And you become complacent. And you get to a stage where life isn't really good because we need to keep pushing ourselves. We need to keep learning. And I could feel myself doing this. And it's like, I've got a choice. I either get out or I'm going to end up in the same place I was 3 or 4 years ago. And I wasn't prepared to do that. So then it's like, okay, I get a European sales role. And then looking at that, it's like, oh my God, they want me to travel. They want me to do this. So to earn what I was earning basically meant a lot more traveling, a lot more responsibility, a lot more pressure. If I did the role that I was currently doing, so a UK sales role, it was a salary cut. So it's between a rock and a hard place. It's like, what do I do? So I made the decision to throw it all in and have nothing. I am an all or nothing person. It's just like, do you know what? There were some things with Mark's mum. She got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So, he was also traveling still, just before COVID. So it's like, do you know what? One of us has got to be around. And the kids were getting older. And I think this is something that we forget. When the kids are younger, I think as parents, we go, oh, I'll stay at home with them until they go to school, which is great. I have found that my two need me more now than they ever did at the age of 2 and 3. 2 and 3, they don't even know you're there. As long as somebody's feeding them, playing with them, changing their nappies and just stimulating them, they're fine. They need me more now. So they're like, what do I do? In the January of 2019, I downloaded one of these coaching things, from the internet, 20 quid, let's be a coach. So I looked at it. And then there was somebody who just suggested it to me. I'd spent quite a bit of time with this gentleman. He's also called Simon, but not Simon Shawley. And he turned around and he said, you do realize that you are a natural coach? And I'm like, oh, I've coached and I've mentored whilst, when you manage people. Because have you thought about it? And I said, I have. I said, and again, the coaching industry is not regulated. So anybody can be a coach. So I turned around and said, I have. I said, but I'm not doing it without a qualification. So, and he was the one that suggested NLP to me. And I'd never even heard of NLP. So I thought, okay, fine. And it was in Cardiff and I'm Welsh and it just drew me. Do you know what I mean? It was like, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go. So I literally went for 11 days down to Cardiff, completely sort of immersed myself in this. I think I did about 50 hours of studying before I went there. I didn't have a clue what to expect, even though I'd done all this study. And the first day was like, okay, a lot of theory the first day. The second day we started doing techniques. And I phoned Mark up and I went, this is mind-blowing. Everybody needs to have NLP. I said, because so the first thing we did was we turned a like to a dislike. So for me, I was eating a lot of bread at the time. I took bread and I turned it into dog poo. So in my head, whenever I looked at bread, whenever I thought about bread, it linked it to dog poo, which basically, do you want to eat dog poo? No. That's what bread was to me now in my head. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if you can do this, what else can you do? So after I did the course, I had my certificate, which is what I wanted. I came back and honest to God, Kirsty, I was flying. Nobody was going to stop me starting my business because this hole that I mentioned earlier is no longer there. It's gone. And it's like, if this can make me feel like this, I want to help everybody else feel the same. So it was a no-brainer. So literally set the business up in the November of 2019. Went on holidays for Christmas, came back. I had 3 paying clients without trying. We were flying. It was great. And then COVID hit. But COVID's enabled me to change, because now my business is probably 90% online, which I never, ever, it wasn't even on the radar. It was all going to be face-to-face. Well, my market has now gone from there to there. So COVID did me a favor. It's been tough, but it's done me a favor. So that's a long answer to a very short question.
No, you know what? I was just thinking, just reflecting on what you were saying, because you said some really, and firstly, before we go any further, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because nobody, particularly this week, is a very important week to share about mental health. So I really appreciate that. Something I don't share very often is that the reason I flipped my life around was because of the same situation. I went to the doctors, and the doctor turned around. This is way back in, 2002, 2003. And I was in a very, very, very dark place. And I don't share it very often. And I walked into the doctor and I had all these different things. And the doctor said, "You're depressed." And I remember going, "I'm not depressed." And then, unlike you, they gave me the antidepressants and I didn't take them. I went the other way, where I flushed them down the toilet. And the kind of person I am, and I wouldn't recommend this to anybody else who's depressed, but it's just who I am, is I went, I'm going to find out the cause of my depression. And I am going to fix it. Now, it took another 2 years. And then I found myself back down in London I'd literally left where I was living at the time with all my belongings in the back of the car, because that's what I had to do, because it wasn't, and I don't want to, I'm going to keep a boundary here, because it involves an ex partner and an ex-life, and the guy concerned, it's not his fault. It was just, we've become quite toxic together. And yeah, it was incredibly difficult. And I think it took another, I went back to university in 2007. So this is 2002 to 2007. And then I joined, by the time I joined into the big world of business, it was 2011. So you can imagine that was quite a bit, it was almost a 10-year rebuild. Now, if I had known about coaching, and it's part of the reason I do coach now, is because I've seen all that blackness, and I've had to face it. Now, I always say, I can remember looking at the devil in the face and saying, "You can't have me. No, you ain't getting me." And I remember that's my kind of phrase of how I got myself back up. And I did counselling, and it didn't work. And then I found another counsellor, and it did work, and it changed my life. And you can't do it on your own. And I really respect you for sharing that with us, because, wow, mental health is so delicate. So,
well, it's huge. And we all, the thing is, it's like, okay, so I had NLP, and I was actually as far as I was concerned, in a good place. So it depends where your starting point is. So, like with you hit the nail on the head where you said, I needed to find the cause of this. Because what tablets do is they just numb it so that actually we can function. But actually, if you don't find the reason behind what's happened, you're probably going to be on tablets for the rest of your life, because you need to work out, why am I feeling like this? What's the issue? And sometimes you can't, because, as I said, you just can't find it. And that's where coaching and therapy, CBT, counseling, NLP comes into it, because it's all up here. And, I was 48 years old. No, I wasn't 48 now. I was 45 years old when I realized that I could control my mind, and actually that my mind had been controlling me for most of my life. And it's like, oh my God. And that was a huge wake up, because it's like, I've been listening to this shit that I've been telling myself for years, and I believe it. And now I'm like, no. I'm not listening to it.
It's incredible what our internal brain does to us. And I've got a social media arm of the body, and I want to get and bring in of the business, and I want to bring in some freelance social media managers. And what I'm really looking for is women who have taken that career break, because actually they are desperate, well, not desperate, that's the wrong word, but they are the right people to come back to work. They've got the time, they've got the dedication, but there's an element that comes in where they just go, ah, and the imposter syndrome takes over, and that silly little annoying voice comes in and takes their confidence away. And it breaks my heart. It really does break my heart, because, you know, I'm a mum that became a mum at 45. So, you know, by the time I became a mum, I'd faced my ants, a lot of them. I remember saying to Joy Foster on a call, she said, we were talking about ants and the automatic negative thoughts. That's what she calls them. And I remember saying, I'm bad with ants. And she went, why are you bad with ants? I went, because I stumble over them. Yeah. And she went, so that means you're good with ants. And that internal voice again, it's incredibly powerful.
It's so that I call it a mind monkey. So mine's, and I actually it's got a character. So mine is literally a monkey. And do you remember the monkeys where we used to have like symbols and a fez hat? Yeah. That's mine. And the problem is if you're having a conversation with yourself, you think you're going mad, yeah? And you think, oh my God, you can't actually detach yourself. Whereas by giving this voice a character, you can have a conversation and you can go, I'm not listening to you, but you need to listen to me because I'm right. No, you're not. And what you have to do is have the conversation, but make sure you have the last word. And then you go, get back in your box. And I literally imagine this little monkey stomping and getting back in his box, and I just shut it. That's controlling your mind. And if you can do that, oh my God, honestly, it's so powerful. But
I love that image. I really do. I want to ask you, I mean, obviously we talked about Mr. Shawley, and I'm really grateful for you sharing, particularly this week, as I said, but who else? Who has been an inspiration or inspired you along the way?
Simon obviously did. Actually, there's lots of Simons who have inspired me. That's really weird when I'm still thinking about it. Yeah, so obviously Simon Shawley, and I absolutely loved working with him. It was great fun. Then my next boss, Simon Nash at Sony. Yes, you know, did he inspire me? I think he did inspire me, but I just loved working with him. But I tell you who really did inspire me was my final boss at Sony, a gentleman called Bruno Winnin. He was, he's in Belgium. And I remember him, he turned to me once and he said, never change who you are. I've actually got goose pimples. He said, you wear your heart on your sleeve. And he said, do you know what? It is just an amazing trait. And he said, and I love working with you because I know that what I see is what I get. There is no bitchiness. There's no backstabbing. I can rely on you. And to be told something like that by, you know, your boss, you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, they've inspired me. But also it's, and I feel a bit weird saying that famous people inspire me because I've never met them. But I made so my life-changing choice came about after I read Michelle Obama's book. Because in that book, she basically goes, you know, she was on this path that she decided when she was like 5 or 6, I think, on this path, following it. And then all of a sudden she came to the crossroads and I thought, my God, that's me. And I'd never seen it like that before. Thought that is me. So the book inspired me. I've never met the woman. And the same with Mel Robbins. I really love her. I think her techniques are simple, but really, really effective. And I use them a lot myself and also with my clients. So, and again, she's very open and honest about her journey. So yeah, I do listen and read to her a lot, but I've never met the lady.
Sometimes though, you don't need to. I mean, my foundation of what I coach on is Stanislavski. There's no way I'm meeting that man. No. There's no way. You know, I'm not going to fly over to Russia, but not years now. So never going to happen. But I still use his practices, his 7 whys. Well, not his 7 whys, his 7 questions. And that's really important because now you hear about the 7 whys. And I go all the way back and I go, have you seen Stanislavski's questions? Yeah. So aha moments, I have to ask because we've all got them. And I'm going to go to some of the comments because there's some really lovely ones on here. So any aha moments?
Yes. And I laugh because I have quite a few aha moments. I think I'm going through a little bit of an aha moment at the moment, in that I am embracing my spiritual side. Now, if we were having this conversation 4 years ago, we wouldn't be having it to begin with, because I wouldn't be talking to you about, my spiritual side and all of this, because for me, they're just weird people that but with NLP, because it's a bit different and you've got to be open-minded, I have become really open-minded. And so with that, I'm going, okay, well, I am open to, what is going on? Is this just me? Is there more? And the more inquisitive I get, I think the happier I am, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we have a ghost in this house. From day one, when we bought it, we knew we had a ghost in this house. But it's been getting to the stage where, I don't know, it's a cold house. We're all really tired all the time. Not that we're ill, but it's just like I don't feel very well. I feel a bit, And I just felt as if there was just this negative presence. So I spoke to somebody and she turned to me and said, yeah, you got a ghost. I said, I know I've got a ghost. She goes, and you've got this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, what do I do about it? She goes, get some sage and sage the house. And I'm thinking, well, I'll just go to Tesco's and buy sage. But no, you need to buy. So I did. And my youngest, she's really into all of this and sort of looks at it at TikTok and stuff. So yesterday we were saging the house. It's just like, what the hell? And my eldest turned on, she goes, I think the house is warmer already. And I'm like, well, it could be because the heating's come on. But do you know what? I am embracing it because it may work. I don't know. But it's actually pulling us together as a family. And it's just like, you know what? Yeah, great. And if it makes you smile and it makes you happy, so what?
I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to do something. I've never done this before. So I don't have a little routine or anything before I go live. I just go live. This morning, for some reason, I had to go and wash the crystal. I have a piece of citrine, which I keep in my office because it's money in your pocket. So that's what the stone is for. I don't know if it works. I quite like the idea. So it's the merchant stone. So I went and washed it before I came in here. I've never done this. And then, this will make you laugh, I make my own candles. So I make my own soya candles, and I'm having deja vu. Anyway, I make my own soya candles, and this particular one's got a bit of basil oil in it, and it's for concentration. And I went downstairs deliberately and brought it up and put it on my windowsill and lit it for this live. And I have never, ever done that before. So I think that's really interesting that you're now talking about spiritual stuff. And I was compelled this morning to do something I've never done before, which is wash the crystal beforehand, put the candle on and put them together. So I am just going to laugh at the fact that going, yeah, I wonder what hidden do is behind that.
I don't know, but I've got goose pimples now. It's just like,
and I actually looked at it and thought, why am I doing this? I genuinely have no idea, but I'm good. And it was that thing of, I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to go with it.
And you know what? That's the whole point. It's listening to our gut and just go with the flow. If it makes you happy, do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody else. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just do it.
So I'm now going to go and look. So we've had some lovely comments. We've got some good mornings, which is always lovely. Peter Mawson, who you probably remember.
Yes, I do.
So Peter and I work together in partnership. So I do all his on-camera coaching for him. So he said her good morning. Annette's, I love Annette. She comes in every week and she says her mental health was damaged by workplace bullying. And yes, Annette, I hear you and I respect you and I love what you. So Annette's gone further. She's now qualified as a laughter coach, which I think is beautiful, a yoga laughter coach, and she will help you with workplace bullying. So yeah, she's really powerful. And I genuinely love Annette's journey. She's just embracing life so much. And unfortunately, we've got this lovely thing from a LinkedIn user, and I don't always get the names, which just says, just finished my NLP practitioner training, Yvonne. So I can completely relate. It's brilliant. And I'm hoping that's Joe, but I could be wrong. So if it's Joe, hello. And if it's not, I will come in later. So we'll go in and comment, and to comment you have to go into the post, so I'll tell you about that afterwards. But this is the moment you get to turn the tables, because I think it's only fair when you've been in the hot seat to be able to throw a question at me. So fill your boots. I always kind of dread this little bit.
Yeah. So for me, so obviously you and I have worked for the same business under different names and under different times. So I am interested in, how did you find it as a female working for Hanwha, but also in the security industry that when I was in it was very male dominated?
Brilliant question. Okay. I went ultra feminine. So I embraced my female side more than I normally would do. I am the person that just wears jeans and a top. Saying that, if you ask Chris Parry, he will tell you that I would deliberately turn up to an event, something like Security 2020, and I'd be wearing tight jeans and high heels deliberately. So again, embrace that female side, because I found that, and I'm sorry, guys out there, I found that being a female, if I put on a business suit, it felt like I was trying to be part of them, and I wanted to very clearly not be part of and fit. Also, being the kind of person I am, where I'm bright and I'm bubbly and I'm probably slightly annoying. I found that being more than slightly in your face annoying. I found that I used that an awful lot. So I built up an armor that I would put on every day, and that armor would be, I am not going to worry if you don't like me. I am here to do a job. But because I'd been a sales trainer, and one of the things that I was really keen on was to serve and not sell. Mm-hmm. So I've never sold anything in my life, and I have served and served. I will go above and beyond to find the solution. And I've done that on some really big projects where they came to me and they went, I want one camera. You want one security camera? One security camera? Yeah. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're just trying to tell me you want one camera. That's not how it works. And anyone who works in the security industry will be able to tell you that is not how it works. You can't just pick up a camera unless, I guess you can if it's you could put it in the router. No. So I found that it wasn't about competition, because if I tried to compete, I was going to lose. What I did was I embraced me. And actually, I have to say thank you to the security industry hugely, because I found myself. I really found who I was working in it. I've got some amazing friends, and I'm going to, obviously, Simon Shawley, Chris Parry, Craig Smith, he's at Genetech now, Lynn Woodgates, who do I phone all the time? Frankie Bolevia, Camilla, these are people that mean the world to me. Genuinely mean the world, and I still call them now. And John Hill, I forgot John. How can I forget John? John is like amazing. There are so many people, and you've seen from the guests I've had on here, Peter Mawson, Joe Scher, Mark Wall. It's just been a family, and because I was me, and I'm going to really leave that there, because I was me, because I leaned into being me, and I didn't try to be what I wasn't. I wore my heart on my sleeve. People accepted it because they knew that I wasn't going to worry if you didn't like me. Yeah. So I think that's a very important thing, is we spend our lives wanting to be liked. How about if we turn it around and say, it's okay if you don't like me. I'm all right with that.
Do you know what? Simon Shawley is a great judge of character. And he knew that you and I would get on because we are so similar. Right. It's a shame we never worked together, Kirsty. Can you imagine it?
Hang on. I coach on camera. I don't do NLP. I don't do mindset. I touch on it. So there's an opportunity there. I'm putting it out there. We could go to the corporates. Hey, everybody. We're going to leave it there.
That's a powerhouse.
So I'm going to leave it there and say thank you so much. Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty this morning. So anybody listening, if you are struggling, there are lots of options out there. And I'm going to put that on just at the end and tag it. There are lots of places you can go to. There is lots of places you can go to get help. If you are struggling, you don't know where to go, then drop me a DM, because I will help you find places. I've helped people get into refuge, and I've helped people know where to go to get the specialist help. So you're not alone. So I'm going to leave it there. Yvonne, do you want to say anything?
I would just like to say thank you, Kirsty. I've really enjoyed this morning. I didn't expect to be as vulnerable as I was. And do you know what? I'd forgotten that it was Mental Health Awareness Week, even though I've been posting all week. So again, going back to this, say what you want to say kind of thing. I think today's interview has actually been the right one to have on the right day.
When I looked at the diary, I went, this is the right week. This is it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome.
Thank you.